What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 6. You dropped a bomb on me. So let's get into Jasmine and Eris, right? So Jasmine is still very concerned about the bomb that Eris dropped on her, that he has never been in love before. She is like overly obsessing about this. Instead of just enjoying the moment, getting to know this man minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, she's focused on, is there going to come a point when I'm going to be falling in love with him and he's still not falling in love with me? And so she's absolutely overthinking this whole thing, overanalyzing this whole thing instead of just being in the moment, like the way you would be when you're dating someone. Obviously, you're always going to be thinking about the future, like where is this going, especially when you start developing feelings for someone. But you're in this process, you're married, you're in this process to stay committed forever. So let's just take a deep breath and let's just enjoy the moment, and whatever happens in the future, it's what happens in the future. You cannot control how this is going to play out. All you can do is just take in the moment. But she doesn't want to do that. She wants to overstress about the fact that this man told her at the age of 39 he has never been in love before. So she thinks that there's less of a chance of Eris falling in love in this pressure cooker type process than if he was someone who had experience being in love before. So, but there's been plenty of couples who have fallen in love before with other people, and they get into this process and they don't fall in love with whoever they were matched with. So just because he's never been in love before, it doesn't mean that he can't fall in love now. And even if he was in love before, it doesn't mean that he's going to fall in love with her in this process. So her reasoning about how, because he's never been in love, so now that we're in this, very strange circumstance of being on Married at First Sight and being on a television show and everything is so rushed, then it's even less likely that he's going to end up falling in love with me. Now, my question to Jasmine is this: do you even really want him to fall in love with you? Like, I don't understand. You don't even know exactly how you feel about this man at this moment, and you don't know how you're going to feel about this man in the future. So you're not even there yet, but you're going to be very overly critical of him not being there yet because of whatever's gone on in his past. So, like, why don't you just take this as a compliment? Like, he's never been with anybody as bomb as me. He's never been with anybody as beautiful as me, who's got it going on like me. So yeah, he's never been in love before because he's been with trash. Now he's found his treasure. Why don't you look at it like that instead of like, okay, this happened in the past, so that's going to be my future. He's just never going to fall in love with me. I don't understand why this girl is obsessing about this, and it's very reminiscent of Stasha and Nate, and that destroyed their marriage. So while she's giving him a massage, she mentions how they've been moving very slowly physically. So I guess Jasmine has been dropping all kinds of signs that she wants to take this relationship up another level. When he had said to her in last week's episode, like, what is your favorite sexual position? And I really felt like she really wasn't that offended when he asked her that. I think we were more offended than she was, but I think that she really wasn't that offended when he asked her that. And it's because she is digging him. She is attracted to him. And even though that was very crass, what he said, I think she liked it. And so I think she thought it was going to lead to something else, but it seemed like, things have kind of really taken a very strange turn. And so as she's giving him a massage on the massaging table, she tells him something like, this is the most, this is the closest that we've ever been, besides just cuddling when we're in bed, as she was massaging his body and everything. And, she says that things have been moving kind of slow. And he says, well, this is the normal progression of things between people who are strangers. He says, we just met a couple of days ago. So this is, we're moving at a very comfortable pace. And I didn't see anything wrong with his answer. Of course, if you read too deeply into it, you can kind of see it as, he's rejecting me because, any normal red blooded American man, would have been all over me by now. But he hasn't, and he's talking about how this is a comfortable pace and this is very normal for people who don't know each other, kind of like what a woman would tell a man, hey, I really don't know you, I want to get to know you a little bit better before I go to bed with you. And it's like he's trying to tell her the same thing. And Jasmine, being a very attractive girl, being the kind of attractive girl that she is, I know that she's used to men wanting to be very physical with her very, very early on in the relationship. Not to say that she has been physical early on in her relationships, but I know she's used to that. And so this guy, who is her husband, and they are in a legally binding marriage, she's wondering, like, what's going on here? How come he's not, trying to maul me over? And she takes this, you can see that it's a blow to her ego. And it's kind of, women were very complex, because on the one hand, if he was, very handsy with her, couldn't keep his hands off of her, constantly talking about sex, how he wants to do this and do that with her, it could be seen as offensive. Oh, you're moving too fast, I don't know you. But then if he doesn't do any of that, it's kind of like, okay, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with me? How come he doesn't want? It's like, what do you want these men to do? So when he tells her that this is a very comfortable pace, considering that we don't really know each other, she says to him that he sounds like he's being sarcastic. And he says, no, I'm not. And I didn't take it as him being sarcastic at all. I thought he was either, one, being very honest with her, or two, I don't want to say letting her down gently, being very polite, like a polite way of saying, I'm not really there yet with you right now. So this is a very comfortable, either way, it was a polite thing to say. Whether this is what he really meant or he was trying to let her down gently, trying to be very considerate of her feelings. Either way, I thought he was being very, very polite, very, aware of how she's feeling at the moment and the fact that he's not there yet. So I was just kind of like, girl, he's not being sarcastic at all. Why are you turning it into a negative? And I think she did say in last week's episode that when he made that comment about what is your favorite sexual position, she did say that she wanted him to be a little bit deeper. And that's when he came back with, what's your favorite color? So she was a little bit bothered by it, I think, when he said that to her. But now she's bothered by the fact that he doesn't want to talk about sex or do anything physical with her at all. So anyways, excuse me, there's a time when they go on a everybody goes horseback riding. The whole entire group goes horseback riding. And after they're done with that, they all sit around and they all talk as a group. And Eris mentions that he's never been in love, but that Jasmine could be his very first love. And that's exactly what I had said last week. I said, hey, just because he's never been in love before, it doesn't mean that you can't be his first. And how beautiful would that be if you were his first love? So that's what he says to the group. And I thought that was, an okay thing to say. And Eris says that he's normally very sexual, but he's trying to take a very different approach with Jasmine, which is good. He doesn't, in the after party with Keisha and Napoleon, he said that he doesn't want it to be just all about sex. And so normally that's what it is with him when he's in relationships. It's just all about that one thing. But because he's married and this is his wife, he doesn't want it to be all about that. So, Eris last week, he lost some points with me. And it's like this week he kind of gained maybe half a point back, because he's saying the correct things. He's not saying anything rude or crude. He is saying the correct things. And so he's showing a little bit more maturity this week. So then after the group outing, after the horseback riding, they have a chance to talk, just the two of them. So Jasmine and Eris are having a conversation, and Eris mentions how Nicole had said to the group that when she came into this process, she had already made up her mind that by day 2, she wanted her back broke. And now when they're in the group setting, Nicole had said that now that she's in the process, she wants to take things a little bit slower. So then Eris tells Nicole, I think she said that because she just doesn't like him. Little does he know. I think she said that because she just doesn't like him. And so then Jasmine says, well, the same could be said about you, because, at the strip club or wherever, no, it wasn't the strip club. when all the guys were hanging out before they got married, having that burnt pizza, he was talking about how he likes to get it in. He's all about, that sex drive and getting physical and getting intimate and all this and that, talking really big about it. But now that he's married, it's like he's taken 10 steps back on that whole thing. And so she said, well, the same thing could be said about you. You're revved up to go before you got married. And now it's like, nothing's happening. And so Eris says, well, I guess when I had said that at the time, I was really in the moment, but you can't really prepare yourself for this type of situation. Once again, I thought Eris gave a really good answer. And he tells her backs will get blown out when they're supposed to get blown out in due time. So when he said in due time, to me, I kind of felt like he was telling her, in due time, relax, chill, be patient, step back. In due time, things will happen the way they're supposed to happen. And so Jasmine just responds with, okay, husband. And Eris says in his confessional that he feels more of a friend vibe with Jasmine, and that this is something that has never happened before, but he sees it as a positive. The fact that, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not ready to just completely, rule him out all the way as like, oh, he just doesn't like her. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that the fact that he's not feeling like he wants to rip her clothes off, he's seeing this as a positive thing, like he's actually interested in her as a person. And if he's getting a friend vibe from her, I'm still going to give him the benefit of the doubt and thinking that, well, maybe, the fact that they can develop a friendship first, maybe that would just give them a stronger foundation to develop something more romantic. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying that, at the end it's all going to fall apart, but for right now, because he's kind of saying the right things to us, at least, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So there's a time when all the girls get together and talk, and Jasmine brings up the whole thing about Eris not being in love before. Like, she's obsessing over this. Anytime that there is a pair of ears in the room, she wants to talk about how Eris has never been in love before. Now, when Eris is talking to the guys, they're asking each other like, well, how are things going with your wife? How are things going with your wife? And then when it gets to Eris, he says that her attraction to him is like a 12 out of 10. Like, she's sending off those vibes heavy. And he said his attraction to her is like a 3 or a 4 out of 10. And so the guys are like, ugh. And so Eris says that, he likes a big old booty. Okay. He likes a big old booty. And your girl Jasmine just ain't got that. She's more on the petite side. He likes a real kadunk like Meg the Stallion and Serena Williams. He likes all of that. He likes it to hang heavy, right? And Jasmine, she's just a little tiny thing, and he ain't used to that. So I was like, finally, I'm understanding why Eris is struggling with his attraction for Jasmine, because in the after party last week or the week before, when he said that, he really wasn't feeling her physically, I was like, what? This girl is really, really attractive. You can tell she takes care of herself. She has a fantastic physique, beautiful face. Like, what is going on? Now I know, because, for a lot of men, honey, if the butt ain't right, you can just throw in the towel. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. If you don't have, if you don't got it, you don't got it. And that's just it. That's all she wrote in the story. So, yeah. It seems like Eris is, he's a butt man. That's what he likes. That's what he's into. And hopefully, your girl Jasmine can tell him that, small butts matter and they need love too. So then they're talking on the beach. And Jasmine brings up her concern about him not being able to fall in love. And she talks about how she's really scared that if she ends up falling in love with him and he is not there yet, he's going to reject her. And it's only natural that she feels that way. But girl, are you in love with him right now? If you're not in love with him, what if you don't fall in love with him? If you're not even there yet, she's talking as if she just knows that she's going to be falling for this guy. Why? What is it about Eris that makes you think that you're going to be falling for him? What is it? I don't understand. You barely know him. His personality, he's kind of, it's been a hit and miss because he says some really awful things, but then he does also say some very, decent things. So he's kind of like all over the place right now. What is it about Eris that makes you think that you're going to end up falling in love with him so hard that you're going to be brokenhearted if he doesn't fall in love with you? Like, what are you talking about, Jasmine? And she says that she falls in love easily. And when she said that, he was like, I don't. And she's like, clearly. And it's like, okay, y'all relax. And as we're having this conversation, he says that the conversation is really awkward for him. And so she says, well, what can help with that awkwardness? And he says, time. As we get to know each other better, these type of conversations are going to be a lot easier for me. He reassures her that he's all in and that he is ready for the ups and downs of marriage, because they talked about that, how there's going to be a lot of highs, a lot of lows, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, he's all in, he's ready for it, and he's not, backing out of this or having second thoughts or anything like that. So they end on kind of a good note. And if Jasmine mentions one more time how worried she is that he's never been in love before, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I'm going to lose my mind, because just because he's never been in love before, girl, it doesn't mean that he is incapable of falling in love. Just enjoy the moment. And because the more she stresses about it, the more he stresses about it. And then for sure, he's not going to give love a chance because he's going to be so damn stressed out. Now let's get to the couple of the hour, Gina and Clint. Okay, so it starts off with them having breakfast in the pool, and Clinton talks about how, he wants to, when they go back to Nashville, he wants to get her to have a whole lot more fun and not be so, work focused. And what does she do after he says that? She starts talking about work, and she talks about work a lot. And the way they edit it, it makes it seem like it was just a never ending, it was just her talking endlessly about work. And it's like, how did Clint put up with that? Like the way they edit it, I don't know if that's how it was in real life, but they edit like, he never got a word in. She constantly was just talking about the salon, my clients, my lease, 7-year lease, blah, 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 the salon. And it's like, how does he deal with this? Because I would have walked away. I would have walked away. I don't know how he could put up with this. And he seems to be somewhat polite. I think at one point he gave her something to taste, and I think it was just to shut her up. Well, that's how Married at First Sight wanted it to look like. I know that's how they edited it. Like he stuffed something in her mouth just to get her to shut the hell up about talking about that damn salon. So when they're out horseback riding, after all of that, after they do the horseback riding and they're talking in the group, Clint brings up how in the past, this is where it all fell apart. And okay, so he talks about, how in the past, they were talking about how their marriages are going so far, the ups and downs of whatever obstacles are facing currently. And Gina starts off by telling the group, well, with us, it's been attraction, I guess that's her stumbling block, it's been attraction. And then she's like, we've kissed, quite a few times, but, I guess there was an issue with attraction. And that's when he talks about how, in the past, he's been more attracted to or more drawn to athletic, slender women. And Lord, when he said that, I'm like, at that point, he should have just, taken off his mic, packed his bags and went home back to Tennessee, because nobody saw it for Clint no more after that. And to tell y'all the truth, and I don't think along with the group. I kind of have my own way of thinking, which is never what the majority is thinking. And in this situation, I do agree that he should not have said that in front of everybody else. And this was talked about in the after party as well, that him saying this in front of the group kind of put the spotlight on her. And it kind of put her in a really awkward position because she didn't really know what to say after he said that. And all the women in the group took it as him criticizing or digging on, crapping on plus size women, whatever. And all because he said that in the past he's been attracted to athletic, slender women, which is like probably the majority of men in America, because that's the ideal in the United States, and the medical community has co-signed to that you have to be a certain size to be acceptable, to have any type of self-worth, to be of any value in anybody else's eyes, and to be healthy. Okay, to be healthy, you have to be a certain size. And if you don't meet that ideal size, it's like you're worthless. your life doesn't matter. You need to just go jump off a cliff or something. So I totally understand how there's a lot of emphasis put on women's physique, and it's all about women, because who gives a damn if men are overweight? It's all about a woman. It's all about women having to sustain a certain type of weight, a certain type of body type. The pressure is all on the women, and it's a very sensitive topic, and it's very polarizing. And we've just, this country, this society, and I can only speak about this society that I live in. I don't know what goes on anywhere else. In this society, from the time that we enter this world, we are conditioned to believe that fat is bad, skinny is good. And it's not even about health anymore. Now, the medical community co-signs to it, to justify people being a certain size. But you can be skinny and you can be unhealthy, because skinny people die too. They can die of medical problems as well. Skinny people don't live to 500 years old. They die too. So I totally get the whole sensitivity around the subject of body type, body acceptance, fat shaming, fat phobia. The fat phobia and the fat shaming in this country is like beyond this world. It's beyond this galaxy. It's astronomical. The fat. It's perfectly okay for people to fat shame people. It's accepted. It's just, and then those of us who are plus size we just have to deal with it, because the medical community has told us that we're not healthy, we're dying, and nobody wants us, and we're not attracted. I mean, the whole thing, we get it. We totally get it. But, but him saying what he's naturally attracted to, what is wrong? Okay, he shouldn't have said it in a group setting. We've got that established. It is established. Clint should not have said that in a group setting. Now, when I watched the after party, it seemed like Gina had brought up the whole conversation first, but I don't know if they showed that or not. Gina had brought up the whole conversation first. Also, it was mentioned that Clint and Gina had this conversation in private already, when they woke up that morning or the night before. At some point in bed, they had that conversation about what they were naturally attracted to. And he had already mentioned to her that he, in the past, the type of women that he's been with have been slender women. He had already told her that in the past, and there wasn't this reaction. But because it was in a group setting, I guess her reaction was a whole lot different. So when he said that, I did not see it as bad as everybody else saw it, because he was just mentioning that in the past, this is what I've dated. This is what I'm drawn to. Everybody has a type. It's perfectly okay for a woman to say, I'm drawn to tall, dark, and handsome. Or I'm drawn to, very muscular, athletic type men. No one blinks an eye on that. But if a man says it, it's like, oh my God, you're fat shaming. You don't like fat women. You don't like women who are, heaven forbid, a size 4 as opposed to a size 2. Anything above a size 2, you consider that disgusting. You would never. Look, I thought they were putting 20 on 10. The fact that after that, the women didn't see it for Clint no more. He was automatically marked as the villain. We don't like him. We hate. There's a lot of reasons to not like Clint. And him saying that, I don't think would have been in my top 5. There's a lot of reasons to not like Clint. But the fact that he prefers slender women, I would not put that in the top 5 reasons of why I don't like Clint. Now, if he would have said something worse than that, like, I would never have dated a woman like her. I'm not drawn to women of a certain size. I don't like fat women. I don't like overweight women. I don't like women who are not in shape. If he would have said something like that, I can probably understand, because he would have been really, digging into it. But all he said was, she likes gingers. I mean, she doesn't like gingers. She's not drawn to gingers. And I've been drawn to, women who are more slender. Probably like all the other men over there, except for Eris. So I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but that was a wrap. That was the end of that. And so when he said that, Dominique says in her confessional that he should have read the room, because the majority of the women are curvaceous. So he should have. The guy was just talking about what he dated in the damn past. what he's been drawn to in the past. And y'all, him saying it in a group setting, like I said, it wasn't right. But also, he probably wanted to retaliate, which shows how petty he is. He probably just wanted to retaliate against Gina for her saying that she didn't like gingers or she didn't like redheads. And she said that to him. And when she said that to him in the previous episode, she said it looked like it just kind of came out of nowhere. Maybe they were talking about why they're not really vibing, they're not clicking, they're not meshing at the moment. And then that prompted her to say, well, normally I don't date gingers. I'm not drawn to ginger-like features. I'm not drawn to that. But when she said that, he was hurt. And he looked hurt when she said that. And if he would have felt differently about her if she had not said that, we would never know. If he would have, if he could have been someone who was drawn to her or attracted to her, we'll never know now, because she shut it down when she told him, I don't like gingers. And then now he got all up in his feelings and he had an opportunity to strike back, and he struck back. Now, at that moment, he could have said, well, okay, well, normally I don't like women who are not slender. And they could have gone tit for tat right there in that, their little conversation right there away from everybody else. But he wanted to retaliate. He had an opportunity to retaliate in front of everybody else. And that was even more embarrassing for her. But I think he was petty, because I think he said it out of spite. I don't think he was like, I want to fat shame her, so I'm going to say this. No, I think he was like, she hurt me, now I'm going to hurt her. That's how I think that's what motivated him to say that. And she was very dismissive on how he had received the comment that she made about not liking gingers. She was very dismissive because at the after party, she was like, oh yeah, it didn't really bother him. And everybody else was like, well, it looked like it did bother him. And then Shaquille said, I know it bothered him because I know Clint, and he's a very talkative guy. And when she said that to him, he completely shut down. He didn't say anything. So he was hurt. Now he wanted to hurt her, which is petty, which is wrong. He should have risen above that. So I'm not even about what he said. I'm about the fact that he felt like he had to retaliate. He had that need to get back at her. So he could have said whatever. He could have talked about her body. He could have talked about what he did in the past. He could have talked about what car she drove. He could have talked about the fact that, I really don't care for beauticians. Or he could have said, it didn't matter to me. The fact that he was driven to retaliate, that's what bothered me. I didn't give a damn that he only wants to date slender women. He can date whoever the hell he wants to date. You're not, and no one is going to date what they don't like just to make a political point. If you don't like overweight men, you're not going to date overweight men just to make a political point. So people are going to choose what they want. I don't care about the fact that he doesn't like plus size women or he prefers skinny. I don't really care about that. I'm worried about the fact that he felt the need to retaliate. So so the women were like, okay, we don't see it for him. He's a jerk. We don't like him no more. They're going to ostracize him probably from here on out. And so later on, they're alone, Gina and Clint, and they're on the swings, like these really gigantic swings. And he's trying to have a conversation with her. She's not in the mood. She's hurt. Now that's another thing that I have a problem with. Her being as affected as she was by what he said, I'm kind of like, well, you hurt his feelings as well. But anyways, that's besides the point. Her being as affected as she was with what he said shows like how, to me, it's kind of like she had like no confidence. She doesn't care about this man. It's not like she was head over heels in love with him, devoted to him, committed to him, gave him the best years of her life. And he comes back with, yeah, I normally don't date women like you. So she wasn't hurt because of that. She was hurt because her ego was bruised. She probably saw herself a certain way. And the fact that he called her out, letting her know that you're not what you think you are or what you think you're presenting. Yeah. That hurt her feelings a lot. But I felt like she should have had more confidence, because me being plus size, I wouldn't give a damn that somebody would say something like that. You don't even know each other. You don't know him. You don't have any feelings for him. Who cares that he said that? If you think you got it going on, Gina, you got it going on. And if he doesn't see that, it's his loss. If you got it going on, or you got it going on regardless of what Clint wants, what he doesn't want, what he prefers, what he doesn't prefer. I didn't like how she took it to heart with what he said. That's what I didn't like. So when he's with the guys, having boy talk, Chris is, so they're talking. So Chris, the one who's with Nicole, I don't know what he said about his situation with Nicole, but Clint says to Chris, well, you need to nip this in the bud or something to that effect. Or she's going to run all over you because she's testing you, and she's testing to see how far she can get, how far she can get with you. And she's going to walk all over you if you don't show some assertiveness, because I guess Clint sees, Chris, something like a wussy, like he's just a pushover and he has no backbone. And Nicole is very, her personality is very alpha, very A-type personality. She's very aggressive. She's very outspoken. Clint called her a little firecracker. So Clint was like, if you don't show some, whatever, she's going to walk all over you. And he was very direct and very blunt. And so Chris was all up in his feelings about that. He was like, well, damn, I didn't expect Clint to say all that and to be like that. And, so just showing like how, and then Clint doesn't shut up. So, when Gina called him a ginger and that she wasn't attracted to that, that he was hurt because his whole face just fell and he had nothing to say, because every other time Clint just talks nonstop. The only one who out talks Clint is Gina when she's talking about her damn salon. So then, when Gina's with the girls, she brings up what Clint had said, the comment that he made, and Gina says, for the record, my waist is a 26. And he doesn't know if I'm athletic or not. He doesn't know. Why did you have to mention that your waist is a 26? I mean, are you not reading the room? Are you not reading the room? Are all these other girls, are their waist to 26? Like, why do you feel the need to say that? For the record, my waist is a 26. Okay, girl, but you're not like a size 2 or a size 3. You know what I'm saying? You're a very, and I'm pretty sure the TV adds pounds, and so probably in real life, she's a whole lot smaller than what she appears on television. But you're not like a size 2. I don't think you and Jasmine can fit the same size. So why does she feel the need to say that? Like, what about the girls who are not at 26? How did she think that would make them feel? So Clint tells that his issue, he tells the guys, his issue with her is not her body. He says his issue with her is that she's like a workaholic and she talks about work all the time. And Clint, he wants to enjoy life, have fun, have adventures, and he doesn't want to talk about work all the time. So that's his issue with Gina. And Max says that Gina's fine. He thinks that Gina's got it going on, and he sees nothing, y'all. Mac is a character. Okay, so yeah, that's my little opinionation on Clint and Gina. I think what he said, it was petty as hell, and I think he was motivated by just retaliating and getting back at her, which I think is extremely immature. I could care less what Clint's type is or what he's used to dating. I don't think that should have bothered her. You're a beautiful woman, Gina. Half the women in this country would kill to be your size and to look like you. And don't let what Clint said get you down like that. Moving on to Kirsten and Shaquille. So, in the group outing that after the horseback riding, when they were all together talking in a group, Kirsten mentions that, initially she had a problem with Shaq's bald head. And every time that she talks about how she is struggling with attraction and like she had a problem with his bald head, I think that cuts into him a little bit deeper and deeper each time. He doesn't really say anything. He kind of holds everything in and then it comes out. So she talks about, well, I had a problem with his bald head, but he grew on me or whatever. And so she says, because he checks all of my boxes, everywhere else, I don't really care about the bald head anymore. I think that's what she said, something to that effect. So then they take dance lessons, and they did great with those dance, because I'm so uncoordinated. I think it's just amazing when people can learn a choreograph that quickly and just nail it like that, like within the first 1 or 2 tries. I think it's just amazing, because my mind does not work like that, and my body sure as hell doesn't. So they were taking dance lessons. They did extremely well, and Kirsten acknowledged that they have a natural chemistry. Even though she struggled with attraction, she is acknowledging that they have a natural chemistry with one another. I'm really liking this couple. So after that, they're talking on a bridge, I think. And at first, they started talking about the other couples, and they were gossiping about the other couples. So they both had a different opinion about what Clint said. Obviously, Kirsten thought that what he said was the worst thing that anybody could ever say to somebody, and Shaquille didn't see it as being that bad. Then Shaquille tells her that Eris had told the guys that he really wasn't feeling Jasmine. And Kirsten was kind of confused because she said that, well, the other day he called her beautiful, but now you're saying he doesn't really, he's not really feeling her. So, like, is he lying? And so Shaquille said, well, he only told her she was beautiful to make her feel good. They were just gossiping up a storm. So then they talk about their own problems. And she tells them that, when he gets into that really silly mood or that really silly mode and he's very jokey, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. I think a lot of people can relate to this. We all have been around someone who's always on. They're never off. It's like the Shaquille comedy show nonstop. And yes, we can laugh, we can chuckle, but you're not an Eddie Murphy where we can genuinely be laughing, just bend over laughing constantly because, Eddie Murphy, that's a natural comedian. He can induce real laughter because he's really funny. You're not that. So I can take the jokes in very small, tiny doses. I can't take it all day long, and I can't take a running joke for 30 minutes. I just can't do the fake laughter. I'm going to end up, straining something or spraining something inside my body. So then when she tells him that, the jokes are a little bit too much, and he gets kind of offended, and he's like, so if I'm joking too much, then what's enough? She's like, well, you're kind of smart enough to figure that out. You can figure out when the time is right to be jokey and when the time is right to not be so jokey. So you can figure it out. He's like, no, you need to tell me. So when am I too much? Was I too much when I said this, and that? And so he's like he's kind of like, you can tell he's hurt and he's pissed. So she gave him an example when they first arrived in Jamaica. He was joking about how the bags were really heavy for her and how she looked carrying these really heavy bags. And then he was like mocking her and making fun of her, how she was carrying these bags. And, she didn't like it. And so she was like, well, instead of you helping me, you're just going to make fun of me. He was like, yeah, I should have recorded you. I was like, damn. So that's an example that she gave. And so they're going back and forth with her saying to him, you know when to cut it down. You know when to stop. Okay. Don't be stupid. And he's like, well, you need to tell me. And so she's like, yeah, don't worry. I'll tell you when it's too much. When I've had enough, I'll definitely tell you. And he goes, so you don't want me to be myself? And she was like, no, you can be yourself. And he goes, well, that's me, being jokey all the time. That's me. So basically you're telling me not to be me. You know how y'all get the drift. So then she's like, well, when you told me you handle criticism very well, it doesn't seem like you're handling criticism very well. And she says, I want to get to know you on a deeper level. And sometimes it's time for the jokes and the silliness to stop. And so then he received it when she said it like that. When she says, I want to get to know you on a much deeper level, that kind of, stroked his ego a little bit. And he was like, oh, that's what you mean. Oh, okay, now I get it. So then he received it. Now, what I liked about this whole conversation was that there was a problem. It was identified. They solved it. And they were both satisfied. I love Kirsten and Shaquille. I didn't think I would, but I really, really do love Kirsten and Shaquille. Let's move on to Dominique and Mac. Dominique and Mac, they were also on the struggle bus this week. So, so they're on day 6 of the honeymoon. Dominique says that the attraction that she feels for him is a 6 out of 10, but the romance is a 3 out of 4 because, he's also too jokey, and when he gets into that silly mode, she kind of pulls back a little bit, and she's way more adventurous than he is. So when they go horseback riding, he really didn't want to do it. He complained before they went. He complained during the damn horseback riding, and then something really crazy happened. His horse was behind her horse, and her horse pooped, and they were in the water. They're actually doing horseback riding in the shallow end of the beach. So when her horse pooped, pooped, his horse, I guess, kind of stepped in it and kind of got on him or something. So he really hated the horseback riding. He cannot. So the issue is that he complains a lot. And so when she wants to go out and do things fun, he's always complaining how it's just, that's not his thing. And he doesn't really want to do that. But because he's with her, he'll go ahead and do it. And so she doesn't, he's just a big complainer. So later on, he does apologize for complaining too much and for joking around too much. And he's going to work on himself. And so she's like, you know what, I'm going to give you a pass this one time and I'm going to accept your apology, but I need to see you really work on that. Like, damn, yes, ma'am. Yes, boss. And so in the after party, she was saying that it'd be one thing if he was enthusiastic about doing something and then do the activity and then later on give her feedback. And if the feedback was negative, she'd be okay with that because at least he went into it positively. But he doesn't even want to go into it positively. You know, he just nags and complains the whole entire time and it really bothers her. And then another issue that she has with him, because Keisha asked her, so are you using this whole lack of wanting to be adventurous thing as an excuse because you're just not attracted to him? And she goes, no, I am attracted to him. She goes, the attraction is there, but the romance isn't, because it's a turn off whenever he wants to complain. She says the attraction is definitely there, but just that emotional connection, it's not. Moving on to Nicole and Chris. So they're cuddling in the hammock. And Chris talks about, I don't know why, you know what? I don't know. Anyway, so Chris talks about how he wants to build a strong emotional connection with her before they become intimate. So he brings this up. I feel like he's brought this up quite a bit, where he talks about how, look, I don't want to rush into sex. I don't want to do that. I don't want that. I want to get to know you as a person. I want to get to know your spirit, your soul, the essence of who you are. I want to know you as anyways, I know a lot of women, they're like, oh, that's so sweet of him. I don't know why that's kind of problematic to me. Like, I feel like he says all the right things to kind of put her in a certain type of mindset. And then he's just going to show his real self after that. I don't know why I feel that way about Chris. He says, but just because I don't want to jump on your bones now does not mean that I don't have the desire to. He goes, the desire is definitely there, but I want us to take it slow. And she says that she totally agrees with that. She wants to take it slow as well because, they talk about their past sexual experiences with other people and how things didn't really work out so well when the whole relationship is focused on sex or the lack of sex. So they like the fact that they are on the same page with taking things very, very slowly. Then they talk about so then Chris says that he has an insecurity of whether or not he can please her when they do get to that point. He's like, I feel a little bit insecure. I don't know if I'm going to be able to satisfy you. Da, da, da. I'm like, Chris, what are you really trying to say? I feel like he says he's trying to say something without saying it. What are you really insecure about, Chris? Why do you think you won't satisfy her, Chris? What are you really trying to say to us? Okay. But they're both committed. They're in this. They're like this. They like each other a lot. And it's going to be really interesting to see how much further this relationship can go, because they're like halfway there. Everybody else is still at the starting line. They've already like halfway through the damn marathon. As far as, the feelings, the emotions, the connections, they're like almost there. So I don't want to make this review too long, and it kind of already is a little bit too long. This is where I'm going to end it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far, God bless you. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I really, truly do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Go ahead and subscribe, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.